Hello, wanderers. This is Mooncat, welcoming you to another haunting tale of mystery and suspense. Tonight we journey to the eerie corridors of Csejte Castle, where shadows whisper secrets of the past, and the air is thick with the presence of a long-departed countess. As you settle in for the night, let your mind wander through the moonlit halls and forgotten rooms of this ancient fortress. If you enjoy this story, please remember to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon for more stories that will send shivers down your spine and lull you into a restful sleep. Now, let us begin our tale. In the heart of Hungary, where history's shadows stretch long and dark, lies the forsaken castle of Csejte. It's a place avoided by locals, whispered about in hushed tones around flickering candlelight. Few dare to venture near its crumbling walls, for it is said that the spirit of Countess Elizabeth Bathory, the infamous Blood Countess, still lingers there, her dark deeds echoing through the centuries. The castle itself was a haunting relic of the past. Its stone walls, once grand and imposing, were now veiled in a thick layer of ivy and moss, crumbling in places where time had been particularly unkind. Yet there were signs that someone or something had been tending to it. The iron gate, though rusted, swung open smoothly, and the path leading to the entrance, though overgrown, was not impassable. It was as if the castle was caught in a limbo between neglect and preservation, adding to its eerie allure. The locals whispered many things about the castle and its infamous mistress. They spoke of Elizabeth Bathory's insatiable lust for youth and beauty, and the macabre methods she employed to maintain them. It was said that she bathed in the blood of virgins, believing it would keep her young forever. The walls of the castle had witnessed countless horrors, torture, murder, and dark rituals that had earned her a place in history as one of the most prolific female serial killers. Anna, an investigative journalist with a penchant for the macabre, had always been fascinated by the darker corners of history. The legend that intrigued her the most was the tale of the Blood Countess's mirror. According to lore, Bathory had a mirror enchanted by a dark sorcerer, which allowed her to see the future and her eternal youth. It was said that anyone who looked into it would be cursed to see their own death. This particular legend was what drove Anna's curiosity to the brink of obsession. The thought of uncovering the truth behind such a chilling artifact was irresistible to her. Her curiosity was insatiable, fueled by a desire to uncover the hidden truths that others dared not seek. It was this drive that brought her to the village. Despite the villagers' warnings, the taxi driver who had brought her to the outskirts of the forest had been particularly adamant. Stay away from the castle, he had said, his eyes wide with fear. The Countess's spirit is restless. Those who go there seeking answers never return the same. Yet, Anna set out just before midnight, the full moon casting an eerie glow on the path that led to the castle. Midnight was the hour when the veil between the living and the dead was thinnest, or so the legend said. She believed that if there were any truth to the supernatural elements of the Countess's story, it would reveal itself then. The pathway to the castle was narrow and winding, flanked by gnarled trees whose twisted branches seemed to reach out like skeletal hands. The forest around her seemed to close in, the trees whispering secrets long forgotten. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decay, and the occasional rustle of leaves made her heart skip a beat. She felt a chill run down her spine, not just from the cold, but from a deep-seated sense of foreboding. As she approached the castle, Its looming presence seemed to grow, casting long, menacing shadows on the ground. She imagined what it must have been like in the castle's glory days when the Countess ran the household with an iron fist. The grand halls filled with laughter and music, masking the horrors that took place behind closed doors. Anna was staying at a small inn in the village, a place that had seen better days but offered a modicum of comfort. Each night she would pore over her notes and the scant historical records she had managed to gather, piecing together the fragmented story of Elizabeth Bathory. As she reached the entrance, she took a deep breath and pushed open the heavy wooden door. It groaned in protest, the sound echoing through the empty halls like a lament. Inside the castle was a labyrinth of decaying corridors and abandoned rooms, each one filled with an oppressive silence that seemed to suffocate her. The air was stale, carrying the faint scent of mold and something metallic, perhaps the lingering essence of blood. Her initial thought was that the castle felt alive, its dark history pulsing beneath the surface. As she walked through the corridor, she recollected another investigative piece she wrote about the haunted cliffs of Moher and its legend of its phantom bride. Yet the legend of the Countess felt more menacing and oppressive as she ventured deeper into the castle. The rooms were a mix of desolation and remnants of a bygone era. One room contained a large, dust-covered four-poster bed, its once rich tapestries now moth-eaten and faded. Another room held an ancient hearth, its chimney long since blocked, giving the space a damp, musty odour. There were signs of a grand dining hall where long, splintered tables still stood, bearing witness to countless feasts that had ended in unspeakable horrors. As Anna explored, she couldn't help but wonder what these rooms had been used for. Had they been places of joy and celebration, or were they stages for the Countess's dark rituals? Each step she took was accompanied by the soft crunch of debris underfoot and the creaking of ancient floorboards. She felt a mix of awe and dread, her mind racing with questions and sensations. She thought of the warning from the taxi driver and the villagers' fearful whispers. The castle was more than just a historical site. It was a living entity steeped in the malevolent energy of its past. And as Anna ventured deeper into its heart, she couldn't shake a feeling that she was being watched, that the Countess herself was observing her every move, waiting for the right moment to reveal her secret. Anna's cell phone flashlight cut through the darkness, casting eerie shadows on the ancient stone walls as she ventured deeper into the castle. The modern beam of light felt out of place, a stark reminder of the present invading the past. As she moved through the corridor, she felt a strange pull towards a room with intricately detailed doors. The carvings were ornate, depicting scenes of hunts and festivities, their craftsmanship speaking of a time when artistry was revered. She paused before the door, her breath catching in her throat. This room was different, opulent even. The heavy wooden door creaked open, revealing a chamber that had retained much of its former glory. Rich tapestries adorned the walls, though they were faded and worn. A grand canopy bed stood against one wall, its velvet curtains tattered but still exuding a sense of luxury. The air here felt heavier, more oppressive, and the metallic smell of blood was stronger, almost suffocating. Anna wondered if this could have been the Countess's bedroom. She scanned the room with her cell phone flashlight, and then she spotted it, a diary, just sitting there on a small, ornately carved desk. It was covered in a thick layer of dust, as if it had not been touched for centuries. The diary was bound in dark leather, the cover adorned with intricate gold filigree that had tarnished over time. The pages were edged with gold leaf, now dulled but still hinting at the book's former grandeur. She carefully picked it up, feeling the weight of the history it contained. The leather was cracked and brittle, and the scent of aged paper and something more sinister wafted up from it. It felt almost alive, as if it pulsed with a dark energy. There was a supernatural pull to the diary, an essence that seemed linked to the legend or spirit of the Countess as herself. Anna opened the diary, her fingers trembling slightly. The first few entries were mundane, recounting daily activities and social events. But as she read further, the tone grew darker, more sinister. Her heart raced as she came across an entry that made her blood run cold. It described, in horrifying detail, the torture and murder of a young servant girl. The Countess had written about it with chilling detachment, almost as if it were a scientific experiment rather than a heinous crime. Anna shut the diary abruptly, unable to read more, even for someone who had set out to uncover the darkest parts of the Countess's legend. This was too cruel. She wondered why the Countess would keep a diary in the first place. Was it to record her findings, to document her descent into madness, or to relieve a guilty conscience? Or was it something else entirely, something darker and more twisted? A cold breeze swept through the room, startling Anna and knocking her phone out of her hands. The flashlight turned off suddenly, plunging her into darkness. Only slivers of moonlight fought their way through the grimy windows, casting faint, ghostly beams across the floor. The most chilling fear she had ever felt washed over her, a primal terror that gripped her heart and froze her in place. She began to wonder if the Countess's spirit was actually real. The thought of being in the presence of such malevolence sent shivers down her spine. Then she heard it, a whispering voice, so faint it was almost inaudible. The sound sent a jolt of fear through her, and she felt a cold sweat break out on her skin. The voice was unintelligible, but it carried a tone of malice that was unmistakable. Anna's heart pounded in her chest as she stood there, paralyzed by fear. The room seemed to close in around her, the oppressive atmosphere becoming almost unbearable. She could feel the presence of something malevolent, something that had been waiting for centuries to reveal itself. The whispering grew louder, more insistent, and Anna realized with a sinking feeling that she was not alone. Then Anna heard it. Anna heard a soft, whispering voice. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "You seek the truth," it murmured, "but some truths are better left buried." Anna was now in a panic, fumbling around on the cold stone floor, her fingers desperately searching for her phone. The darkness was suffocating, and the oppressive silence seemed to amplify her fear. Her hand brushed against something solid, and she quickly grasped it, the familiar weight of her phone bringing a brief moment of relief. She turned it on, and the screen's harsh light illuminated her face. But it wasn't just her reflection that she saw. Standing before her, bathed in the ghostly glow of the cell phone screen, was the Countess herself. Anna's breath caught in her throat as she took in the sight. Countess Bathory was stunningly beautiful, her pale skin smooth and unblemished, contrasting sharply with the darkness around her. Her hair was a cascade of raven black waves falling gracefully over her shoulders. High cheekbones framed her face, giving her an air of aristocratic elegance. Her eyes, though, were the most striking, dark, deep, and filled with an intensity that seemed to pierce through Anna's very soul. The Countess's clothing was as opulent as the room itself. She wore a gown of deep crimson velvet, adorned with intricate black lace and delicate gold embroidery. The bodice was tight, accentuating her slender waist, while the skirts flowed around her like a pool of blood. A heavy jewel-encrusted collar encircled her neck, and her fingers, pale and graceful, were adorned with rings set with glistening gemstones. Even in death, the Countess stood with great stature. She exuded an aura of power, status, and wealth that made Anna acutely aware of her own insignificance in comparison. This was a woman who had commanded respect and fear in life, and it was clear that she still held that power beyond the grave. As Anna realized who had materialized before her, she was surprised to find that she did not feel a malevolent presence. Instead, there was an air of melancholy surrounding the Countess, a profound sadness that seemed to emanate from her very being. Or perhaps it was something else entirely. Anna could not quite make sense of the emotions swirling within her. All she knew was that she was in the presence of one of the most infamous women in history. The Countess's eyes locked onto Anna's, and for a moment the room seemed to shrink, leaving only the two of them in a timeless void. Anna felt a strange connection, as if the centuries that separated them had been bridged by this eerie encounter. She wanted to speak, to ask the Countess about her life, her crimes, her legacy, but the words caught in her throat. The Countess took a step closer, her movement almost ethereal, her gaze unwavering. Anna felt a shiver run down her spine, the weight of the Countess's presence pressing down on her. There was a softness in the Countess's expression, a fleeting hint of vulnerability that contradicted the monstrous reputation that had been etched into history. As the Countess continued to approach, Anna felt a wave of conflicting emotions: fear, curiosity, and a strange, inexplicable empathy. She wondered if the stories about the Countess had captured the full truth of her existence, or if there were deeper layers of sorrow and suffering that had been lost to time. The room around them seemed to hum with an unnatural energy, the air thick with the remnants of the past. Anna's mind raced with questions, but before she could find her voice, the Countess spoke. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper, but it carried the weight of centuries. "You seek the truth," the Countess said, her tone both regal and mournful, "but are you prepared to face it?" Anna felt a chill run down her spine at the Countess's words. She had come seeking answers, but now, confronted with the spectral presence of the Countess, she was no longer sure if she was ready for what she might uncover. The darkness seemed to close in around her, the oppressive silence amplifying the Countess's haunting question. "Why have you come here?" the Countess asked, her voice a haunting melody. "Do you wish to join my eternal dance?" Anna tried to speak, but found her voice caught in her throat. She shook her head, taking a step back. The Countess smiled, a cold, predatory smile. "Do not fear," she said, "for I no longer seek the blood of the living. My curse was lifted long ago, but I am bound to this place, a guardian of its secrets." In that moment, Anna knew that her investigation had led her to a place beyond the reach of history and legend, into the heart of a story that was still very much alive. Anna felt a surge of intrigue and that familiar pang of insatiable curiosity that had driven her to Csejte in the first place. The Countess had mentioned her curse was lifted long ago. Anna hadn't realized there was a curse at all. What was this curse? Was it contagious? And who on earth had lifted it? The questions piled up, overwhelming her. But did she really want to know all the answers? Some secrets were better left buried, especially ones entwined with blood-soaked legends. Her heart still pounded from the sense of fright and impending doom she had felt just moments before. It was a chilling reminder of the very real dangers that lingered in the shadows of the past. Anna decided to let the Countess lead the conversation. After all, who better to unravel the mysteries than the woman at the heart of them? The Countess, sensing Anna's turmoil, gestured toward the journal. "You seek the truth," she repeated, her voice a haunting melody in the heavy silence. "You have a choice. Anna, you can uncover the truth and free me, or you can leave now and let the past remain undisturbed." Anna swallowed hard, her mouth dry. The weight of the decision pressed down on her. She took a deep breath and forced herself to be brave. "What if there's another option?" she proposed, her voice steady despite the chaos inside her. The Countess raised an elegant eyebrow, a hint of menace flickering in her dark eyes. "Another option?" Anna straightened, meeting the Countess's gaze with determination. "I will try to set your spirit free, but in return, I want to keep the diary and ... interview you, to clear your name." The Countess's expression shifted to one of Elita's confusion. "An interview? What is that?" Anna took a step closer, trying to bridge the centuries that separated them. "An interview is when one person asks another a series of questions to learn more about their life, their thoughts, their experiences. It's a way to tell your story in your own words." The Countess considered this, her eyes narrowing thoughtfully. After a moment, she nodded. "Very well, but be warned. The truths you seek may not be the ones you wish to find." Anna's excitement was tempered by a thread of apprehension. She masked her eagerness with composure. Nodding in agreement, she stepped toward the journal, her fingers trembling slightly as she flipped to the end where the Countess had instructed her to read. Her eyes widened with disbelief as she read the final entry. The words were a stark revelation, unraveling the tapestry of myth and reality in ways she had never anticipated. The Countess watched her intently, the ghost of a smile playing on her lips. "The curse," the Countess began, her voice low and somber, "was placed upon me by a rival, a woman who envied my beauty and power. She condemned me to eternal unrest, trapped between the realms of the living and the dead. It was only broken when a descendant of hers, a kind soul, performed a ritual of forgiveness." Anna listened, captivated by the tragic story. "And the castle?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "What secrets does it hold?" "Many," the Countess replied, her eyes distant, as if seeing through time itself. "But the greatest secret is that of my innocence. I was not the monster they made me out to be." Anna's heart pounded in her chest as she absorbed the revelation. She had come seeking the truth, and now she was on the brink of uncovering a story that could rewrite history. But at what cost? The Countess gestured toward the journal. "Read on, Anna, and when you are ready we will begin the interview." Anna nodded, her mind racing with the implications of what she had just learned. She would delve deeper into the Countess's past, uncover the hidden truths, and perhaps set her spirit free. The path ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty, but Anna was determined to see it through. As the cold breeze swept through the room once more, Anna felt a chill run down her spine. She was not just an observer of history, she was now a part of it. And in the eerie silence of Csejte Castle, she knew that the night was far from over. Anna turned her cell phone on record, the faint glow casting shadows on her determined face. She steadied herself and asked, "Countess, if your curse is lifted, then what is it that binds you to this place?" The Countess's expression shifted from serene to one of sadness, quickly replaced by a contained anger. "It is the mirror," she replied, her voice tinged with regret, the mirror that I spent countless hours gazing into. Admiring my reflection, it symbolizes my vanity, the very thing that keeps me tethered to this wretched place. Her voice softened, sadness and remorse now evident. Perhaps if I had not been so obsessed with youth and beauty, I would not be in this situation. Anna, feeling a surge of empathy, said, "In the present day, loving yourself and liking the way you look is celebrated. We have medical procedures and Botox tinctures injected into the skin to remove wrinkles and maintain a youthful appearance." The Countess's eyes widened with intrigue, a hint of amusement in her voice. "Your age certainly has its charms. If only I had been born in a time when vanity was so readily embraced." Anna couldn't help but smile at the Countess's witty remark. "Where is the mirror kept?" she asked. Her curiosity piqued. The Countess's gaze grew distant, her voice a whisper. "It is in the tower where they imprisoned me, the very scene where I met my end." A chill ran down her spine at the thought of ascending the tower to the site of such tragic history. Yet she felt a strange resolve, a compulsion to see this journey through to its end. "Will you show me?" Anna asked, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her insides. The Countess nodded, a ghostly hand gesturing toward the staircase leading up to the tower. "Follow me, and be prepared. The past has a way of clinging to the present, especially in a place such as this." Anna took a deep breath and followed the ethereal figure, her cell phone recording every step. The climb was steep and treacherous, the air growing colder and more oppressive the higher they went. At last they reached the tower's summit. The room was stark and foreboding, the air thick with the scent of decay and old memories. In the center stood the mirror, its surface dull and lifeless, yet it seemed to radiate a strange, magnetic pull. Anna approached it cautiously, the Countess's voice echoing in her ears. "This is where it all ended for me. This is where I was betrayed and where I died." Anna stared into the mirror, its surface reflecting not just her image, but something deeper, something ancient and sorrowful. She felt a pang of empathy for the Countess, understanding now that her vanity was both her downfall and her prison. "We'll find a way to break this bond," Anna vowed, turning to the Countess. "You deserve to be free." The Countess's gaze softened, a glimmer of hope flickering in her dark eyes. "Thank you, Anna, your kindness is a rarity even in death." As they descended from the tower, Anna's mind raced with possibilities. She knew that freeing the Countess would not be easy, but she was determined to unravel the secrets of Csejte Castle and the enigmatic woman who haunted its halls. Anna carried the mirror into the moonlit courtyard, the weight of its history bearing down on her. She threw it onto the ground with all her might, hoping for the sound of shattering glass to signify the end. But nothing happened. The mirror remained intact, mocking her effort. Frustration clawed at Anna. She turned to the Countess, desperation in her eyes. "How do we destroy it?" she asked. The Countess's expression was one of resignation. "I do not know," she replied softly. "Time is running out. The veil between our worlds is closing." Anna could feel the Countess's presence slipping away, the spectral figure growing fainter by the second. The Countess stood there, an image of acceptance, seemingly ready to remain bound to this cursed place for eternity. But Anna was too invested to give up. She felt an overwhelming sense of injustice, a belief that society had failed the Countess, painting her as a monster simply because she was a woman of power and wealth. She refused to let that narrative stand unchallenged. Thinking quickly, Anna remembered the Countess's diary, the pages filled with secrets and confessions. It dawned on her that the mirror wasn't the true anchor keeping the Countess bound. It was the diary. The secrets it contained held the Countess in this liminal space, though it pained her to do so. Anna knew she had to destroy the diary, even though she longed to keep it for her research. She decided to take pictures of some of the diary entries first, quickly snapping photos with her cell phone. Each flash of light captured a piece of history, a fragment of the Countess's soul. The Countess watched silently, understanding dawning in her eyes. "There is a fire pit at the edge of the courtyard," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Some young people were drinking and lighting things on fire earlier." Anna felt a spark of hope. For once, she was grateful for teenagers and their pyromaniac tendencies. She ran to the fire pit, searching frantically for a lighter or matches. She found a pack of matches, their edges singed from use. She hurried back to the diary, her hands trembling as she struck a match. The small flame flickered to life, casting eerie shadows across the courtyard. Anna looked at the Countess, a silent prayer in her eyes, and threw the diary into the makeshift fire pit. The flames licked hungrily at the pages, consuming the words and secrets that had held the Countess captive for centuries. As the fire grew, Anna glanced at the Countess, hoping this would be enough. Anna watched the flames devour the Countess's diary, the crackling of the fire the only sound in the still night. The Countess let out a gasp, followed by a sigh of relief, her spectral form beginning to fade. The weight of centuries lifted from the courtyard, the air growing lighter, almost breathable again. Anna felt a surge of triumph, but knew she couldn't let the Countess go without asking the question that had been gnawing at her since she first heard the legends. "Did you really do the things they said you did?" she asked, her voice steady despite the chill creeping down her spine. The Countess's form wavered, a mischievous grin spreading across her ethereal face. "I am looking forward to meeting the devil," she replied, her tone laced with a dark humour. With that, the Countess dissolved into the night, her presence no longer bound to the castle's haunted halls. Anna stood there for a moment, the weight of what had just transpired settling over her. She took out her phone to stop recording, her hands trembling slightly from the adrenaline rush. As she scrolled through the footage, her heart sank. The Countess was nowhere to be seen, her spectral form invisible to the camera. The photos of the diary entries were all blurry, the words smeared and unreadable. A rueful chuckle escaped Anna's lip. The past, it seemed, would never let go of the Countess's infamy. But Anna knew she had a story to tell, a story that would capture the essence of the Countess in a way no historical record ever could. As she looked around the courtyard, her eyes fell on the Countess's mirror. It lay there, intact, despite her earlier efforts to shatter it. She picked it up, marveling at its resilience. "What the heck is this made of?" she muttered, shaking her head in disbelief. Anna decided to keep the mirror as a memento, a tangible link to the extraordinary night she had just experienced. She left the courtyard, the mirror tucked under her arm, feeling a strange mix of disappointment and satisfaction. The Countess's secrets remained hidden, but Anna had uncovered a truth of her own. The castle seemed less foreboding as she walked away. The oppressive atmosphere lifted. Anna's mind buzzed with the possibilities of the story she would write, a tale that blended history and legend, truth and myth. She knew she had something special, a narrative that would do justice to the enigmatic figure of the Countess. As she drove away from the castle, the mirror reflecting the moonlight in the passenger seat, Anna felt a sense of closure. The Countess Bathory's story would never be fully told, but Anna had captured a piece of it, a fragment of the mystery that would intrigue and captivate her readers. Anna glanced at the mirror one last time, a smile playing on her lip. The past had its grip, but the future was hers to shape. She drove into the night, the Countess's whisper echoing in her mind, ready to turn history into a hauntingly beautiful story. Thank you for joining me on this chilling journey through the cursed halls of Csejte Castle. I hope you found this story as captivating and eerie as the legends that inspired it. If you enjoyed this tale and would like to hear more, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with fellow night owls who seek the thrill of the unknown. Until next time, may your dreams be filled with whispers of the past and the gentle embrace of moonlight. This is Mooncat, wishing you a peaceful and hauntingly beautiful night.